Welcome back to the Python series. In this video, we are going to discuss about data types in Python. So let's start with the very first question. What are data types? The name itself says that it represents the type of the data. And then which data? The data which is stored in the storage containers, nothing but variables. So simply, data types are the classification of data stored in a variable. Data type represents a kind of value which determines what operations can be performed on the data stored by the variables. And then, why do we need data types? Data types helps the interpreter to allocate appropriate memory by performing type check for a variable, and also helps in ensuring the correct usage of variables in a program. And now, Python has 6 standard data types. They are numeric, string, list, tuple, dictionary, and then set. String, list, tuple combinedly called as sequential data types. And then the dictionary is also called as mapping data type. Let's start with the very first one, numeric data types. Numeric data types are classified into 3 types. They are integer, float, and then complex. And now, what is an integer? Positive or negative whole numbers without fractional part is called as integer. And now, what is a float? Any real number with floating point or fractional part denoted by decimal or scientific notation. And now, what is complex? A number with real and imaginary components represented as x plus yz, where x is real and y is imaginary, is called as complex. And then note that the imaginary part should only contain alphabet z and not any other. There is also another data type called bool or boolean. And now, what is bool or boolean? A data with one of the two standard values, true and false. It is not included in the numerics, but it just have a link with the numeric. We all know that Python supports object-oriented programming. And now, what is object-oriented programming? Let's make it simple. Object-oriented programming is nothing but everything is treated as an object. Later on we will discuss this in the further videos. So as Python supports object-oriented programming, so in Python also everything is treated as an object. And now let's create a simple variable. Let's clear this. So let's create a simple variable a equals to 10. So here we know that it's an integer. Here we know the type of variable. And then what about the situation in real-time projects? There may be lots of variable and huge lines of code. In that situation, how can we find the data type of a variable? Is there any way to find the data type of a variable? And the answer is yes, we can. For this, we have a built-in function called type. And note that type is used to return the value but not to print the value. To get the output or display the output, we have to use the print function. So let's use this. Note that when we are using a variable or another function inside print, so that then it should be separated from the rest of the code by placing a comma. So let's run this. So here we got it is a integer. So this is how we can find the data type of a variable. We can also find the data type of a number itself directly, or the data value itself. So let's try this. So let's run this. Here it shows 1 to 3 is of integer. So now let's create a floating variable. Let's clear this. Let's run this. So here it shows 10.25 is float. And now what if we just place a point? So let's run this. Even if we just leave the decimal part empty, it says that it says float. Even if we leave the decimal part as empty, the interpreter itself does type check and return the decimal point as 0. Let's create a complex variable. Let's verify whether the type function prints or returns a value. So let's clear this. Let's take another variable b. Now let's print b. If it works, then we can say that type only returns the value but not prints the value. So let's run this. So here it works. It's the output of the print statement b. So it's clear that type only returns the value but not prints the value. The reason is that the value returned by the type function is stored in b variable, and the variable is placed in the print so that it worked. So now what happens if we place a mathematical expression? So let's try this. Let's place 10 greater than 5. So what do you think the type function returns? So let's print a2. And then what do you think that a print of a returns? So let's run this. We got true for printing of a, and then it tells that it's bool. As we discussed, boolean is nothing but a data with one of the standard values true and false. So as the condition inside this variable a is true, so it returns true, and it's a type of bool, so it returns bool.